Let's another thing that's been on my radar is Bernie Sanders tweeted something to the effect today that he lives 50 miles from the border. Nobody in Canada has to take out their credit card when they go to their doctor. And then I responded.
Healthcare. Yeah, we can talk healthcare. Sure.
Well, so I retweeted. I said, it's nice to conceive of it as free healthcare in Canada, but I've been trying to figure out the numbers. Our healthcare system costs 11.4% of our GDP, which was $2.28 trillion. And so you put a number on that, I think it's 228 billion is our national healthcare costs. And what was I going to say? On average, it costs 38% of every province's total budget. And I didn't get into the numbers of the total budget, but so I said, okay, bear in mind, you have your federal, I don't know, and I don't know exactly how it breaks down in terms of federal costs versus provincial costs. I think the federal allocates the budget, apportions it to the provinces, and then they take care of it on the provincial level. 38% on average, of the provincial budgets total are for healthcare. So if I pay $25,000 to the provincial government and I pay $20,000 to the federal government on an income of $80,000 or $90,000, the provincial budget that goes to healthcare is $10,000. And that's the free healthcare. And it's the free healthcare of a system where we ended up there over the holidays because of some asthma issues. We ended up there because of a suspected broken leg. We spent 6, 7, 8 hours in the ER. And one time we were in the ER for so long, I asked, I was like, we've been here all day. Hell on earth, by the way, like kids coughing, vomiting. Like it's just,
oh yeah.
And the doctor's like, oh yeah, 6 hours is the average waiting time. I said, so that's,
I have to say that occasionally you will see an actual billboard for a hospital that will actually have like a digital display for the waiting time for that hospital in real time. You occasionally will see that driving in the United States, and it's like 20 minutes or 15 minutes when you pass by.
First of all, I will take that expense, because if I knew that I was going to have to wait 6 hours, I would have told my kid, you walk on your broken leg, suspected broken leg, we'll deal with it tomorrow. But it is crazy, the perception that we have free healthcare. And I say, the waits are so long. Oh, that was what the doctor said. Well, so I'm texting my not GP. What's the one when you have for kids? Pediatrician. I'm texting my kid's pediatrician. It's like, what do we do? And he says, oh, go to a private clinic. It's like, all right, dude, but I could have done that from the beginning, which is the response is when the public system is too long, go to a private clinic.
Mm-hmm.
So you have
it's just kind of like, what are we talking about, right?
That's right. Back to your 2-tier justice system, back to your 2-tier healthcare system.
Yeah.
And you have people in the States and Bernie Sanders, praising free healthcare, socialized healthcare, not appreciating that. Incidentally, when I said it's $10,000 on a salary of $80,000 a year, that's if you use it or not. So don't use your free healthcare. You still paid for it. And it's free only to the extent that the government has already pre-charged you for it. And it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. I think the issue is not the healthcare costs. The issue the issues is it's really the cost of medicine. It's the cost of the procedures, which get artificially inflated when it's subsidized to some extent, one way or the other. And it's So that was my in the States. I mean, you have private health. You have private healthcare.
Yeah, it's private healthcare, and it's also really regulated healthcare at the same time. So in some ways, I think we're in the worst of both worlds, because it would probably be better either way. It would be better if it were more public and just as regulated, or it was more private and less regulated. A lot of the best paying doctors are the most unregulated, and sometimes the best quality care. For example, laser eye surgery, for example. The price on that has dropped a lot because it's more unregulated. It's paid out of pocket. There's no insurance that's covering this. And so, there's a thriving private market that's uncovered. And dermatology is kind of similar than that. Sometimes it's covered, but there's a lot of uncovered care that can be, that makes it really desirable for both doctors and people. So one solution is to make it less regulated and let the private market sort itself out, which has its own set of problems, of course. As to more government control in terms of government running my healthcare, I have a lot of concerns, not the least of which is the VA, Veterans Administration. The VA has been the VA is public health care for veterans. It is trying to give health care to all the veterans who have so served our country. And it has been, how should we say, not run very well in the United States.
Abject failure.
Yeah, that would be a one way to describe it. So I have serious concerns seeing how the government has run the VA, that they will be equipped to run all of the U.S. healthcare. I'm not feeling a great deal of confidence in this system. So that, the idea of a government takeover, not the least of which is like there's the tax issues and the whole bunch of stuff, but like fundamentally, I just don't trust the government to do it. Period, because they haven't really shown themselves equipped to do it, in my humble judgment.
I'm not bringing up the memes about the Iowa caucus. I think this is not a partisan issue. I think this is a fundamentally government issue. And I tend to, I understand the concern. There's not much that the government does better or more efficiently than the private sector. The question is only not even who you trust more, but rather if you trust them or distrust them equally, who would you trust more to do it better? I guess if you distrust them equally, who would you trust better to do it better? Hold on, there was one person who just said something that I wanted to get to.
Yeah, the VA. Good.
No,
I have no objection.
What the fuck? You're paying 50% taxes on 100K. Someone else had the same question. Someone said, "Viva, are you actually paying 50%?" Here we go. We're paying. If you are an employee and you get paid $100,000 a year, you're basically paying 45% tax between the federal and the provincial. Now, it's been a long time since I've been on salary, and it's been a long time since I've seen a salary of 100K. If you're independent, you can have your tax benefit. You can have some sort of like deduction. What am I looking for? Tax benefits of expenses and so on and so forth. But if you're on salary, it's 45% at 100K. At 50K, it's maybe 30%. So you're netting 35,000. That's give or take. And I remember this from being a stagiaire. It's we pay a buttload of taxes in Quebec, and we pay them specifically to go. 38% of our provincial budget goes to healthcare, whether you use it or not. And you're healthy and you don't use it, you still pay it. It's more useful than the Oscars. Life, Sandiger. Thank you very much. Life. No question about it.
Yeah, so I just really have grave concerns about our ability to function this. And someone in chat pointed out that Trump has been trying to make reforms to the VA, and he has. And he put in some executive orders dealing with collective bargaining that made it, because the VA had, I'm going to misquote the number no matter what I say, but I want to say it's something like 300 something odd employees who were full-time union. So they had 300 employees paid by taxpayers who didn't actually work in the VA because they were union delegates. And also like the wait times and everything was horrible. And so Trump has been making some inroads, but you will beg my skepticism that those inroads will necessarily last through multiple administrations, or that they would apply in other things. I'm not prepared to give the government control over my healthcare. Now, that being said, I would like things to probably be more unregulated. I do like the price transparency that we have now. It's first step to try to lower costs. So, every hospital has to publish its book prices, its master book prices. It's a start to get things more available. But we probably should get more out of the way rather than getting more in the way. If I had to guess, would be my bet.
Yeah, it's publishing the book prices. So incidentally, two things: free healthcare for us. We have a list of the prices as they're going to be charged to someone who is out of province or out of country, and the costs are just as obscene as they are on the States. It's not like it's someone subsidizes it at some point.
If you're visiting another province and you like get in a skiing accident, you're host.
No, so Medicare. No, I should have said that. Out of province, if you do not have a Medicare card, you have problems. But no, I should have said that. Anywhere in the country, you're pretty good. But anyone who's out of the country or doesn't have a Medicare card, and this was actually one of the nastier lawsuits that I ever dealt with, was a Quebec citizen who had been out of the province for long enough that they lost their Medicare card, came back, had an issue, and then was billed $500,000 by the hospital, and was a legit citizen. It wasn't a question of the citizens. It was, there were some issues, but got billed an a bankrupting amount of money from our free healthcare, because It's got, it comes from somewhere at the end of the day. Let me just, okay, hold on. Jose Gonzalez says, trespassing on anyone's land without permission is a crime, isn't it? Who owns the land at the border, the state along the part of the U.S., the border of the U.S.? I don't know. That's the other thing is I've never understood when you cross the line, when you're crossing in a car and you get past the fence, but you haven't crossed the border yet. There's that no man's land. I don't know, but
all borders are hypothetically one-dimensional lines with no width. So hypothetically, there's no man's land, and like you run into this problem even in the U.S. a little bit because like as you're traveling from state to state, you'll see like signs that say "Welcome to whatever state," and but that sign isn't necessarily like right on the line. So there's technical lines and like where things are. So you could theoretically be in both states. Half your car could be in one and half the car could be in the other, I guess. But yeah, there's a hypothetical one-dimensional line that separates us and Canada. And then there's no touching zone.
All right. I want to answer this one because this one I have a personal anecdote with. What's wrong with 150 people having the same appointment time? It's free because your time is nothing. So I had recently a procedure, which I will never do again, barring the absolute unforeseeable, which, let's see. I think my audience is majority male, so they might, I don't know if this is more male than female, actually. Rubber band ligation, which I talked about in a couple of videos. It's for hemorrhoids. And okay,
tell me more.
Oh, here's what it is. They go into that spot and they wrap rubber bands. It's like castrating a bull or a lamb in.
That's what it sounds like. Yes.
So you wrap a rubber band around something and it eventually dies and falls off.
Yep.
So I had some issues and I had this done. Okay. Other than being the most torturous, painful, I don't want to deter anybody from doing it. Rubber band. Other than being the most torturous procedure that I've had, and I've had a testicular torsion, I've had a testicular cyst, I've had issues. This was the most painful thing I've ever had, and I believe now I know what it feels like to give birth to a baby. I had to go back for a follow-up. And I couldn't get a follow-up. And I was going through some things that I was beginning to question whether or not these were normal stages of recovery. And then at one point I was lucky to sneak in and I go to this hospital. I swear to you, it was like out of Jacob's Ladder, this hospital, where like there's 100 people in a room and it's like nobody's going anywhere. And I waited there for about 3 hours until it finally came to my attention that the doctor who was supposed to see me was not there because the doctor was in the ER got called in the ER, and the hospital was 45 minutes away from my house. The whole thing, it's wonderful, and didn't cost me a penny. I would have paid to not go through that procedure. So,
you have rubber bands at home, don't you?
Oh dear God, I can't even look at rubber bands anymore. that's how bad it was. But no, it is. It's the grass is always greener thing. We're like, yeah, okay, Bernie Sanders and everybody looks at Canada and says free healthcare. Look at us, Oregon. There's a reason why we have private insurance, and even with that, we end up going to the States to get treatment because
I mean, there's ultimately no free ride, right? There's no free runs. You're always paying in one way or another. At some point, on some level, it's like you're paying in money, paying in time, paying in, access to care, paying in whatever. And so is the American system the best of all worlds? I'm not going to sit here and claim that. I'm not going to sit here and say the American system is the best of all worlds. There are probably better ways to do it. I have some ideas. If I ever become president, I have some reform ideas. But, do we need to do something different? Probably. I don't know exactly what that should be. It's a huge, massive problem. But, is government takeover of healthcare is a one payer the solution? I have my doubts. I'm not sure I trust the government with that much power, just in principle. And there's that too. It's like I'm always skeptical of government power. Like, no, no.
Well, I mean, that's the question. It's like, why would the government be better at it than private enterprise? I don't trust private enterprise. It's just one. They are accountable to different sort of.
Yeah, there's a lot more of them, and they can do a lot less damage in aggregate. I mean, as big as the healthcare companies are, they are not as big as the government.